So you saw the one where I've spent essentially nothing, and Bush has spent $59 million.
Donald Trump has reported $250,000 on ads in Iowa and New Hampshire. Almost, but not quite, nothing.
And they go over walls, and you saw the ramp. They built a little ramp. The walls are high. They built a ramp. The trucks drive over the wall. They have Jeeps. They're loaded up with drugs. They drive over the wall.
This was reported to have happened only twice, and both times ended in failure. The Jeep Wagoneer Trump was referring to is found teetering atop a 14-foot high, not low as he indicated with his hands, section of the wall. Video on YouTube for all to see.
From self-funding, by the way, all these guys are taking money. They're all bloodsuckers. They're all taking money.
According to federal papers filed in mid-October, Trump took in 73,942 unsolicited contributions, which added a cool $3.8 million to his coffers, averaging about $50 each, and 70% were less than $200. So maybe he's not 100% self-funded. The paperwork also shows he has hired over 50 firms and individuals who are labeled as consultants, so he has his own pollsters too.
If Russia wants to bomb ISIS, excuse me, go ahead.
The problem is Russia has not been bombing ISIS. They bomb rebel groups that are U.S. supported. This info comes from military sources and the groups themselves. Mr. Trump, as a cop candidate, you don't seem to know this. Russia is supporting Assad and is against the U.S. regime change, and you have it bass-ackwards.
You look at what Obama's done with Iran. I mean, Iran is they're becoming a force. We gave them $150 billion.
The USA gave no money to Iran. When UN sanctions were imposed, thousands of Iranian accounts in European banks were frozen. Government, business, and private accounts. As Iran begins to comply with the treaty and sanctions are lifted, these accounts will be unfrozen, allowing the owners to access them. To repeat, no U.S. funds or tax dollars are involved, as Mr. Trump so erroneously implies.
They got everything. How about self-inspecting? How about they're going to self-inspect and they're going to say, no, we're not building nuclear there. You can take our word for it. And then on the other case, we have 24 hours. But before the 24 days starts, what happens? We have to go through a process.
Once again, Trump shows he has little or no knowledge of the actual treaty or how self-testing works. He gives no credit to the scientists and physicists whose life's work is nuclear research. I don't want to weigh the reader down with details, but suffice to say, the testing of radioactive fingerprints is so sensitive, so accurate, so reliable, that the Iranians cannot hide or lie about what they are doing. Not in 24 hours, 24 days, or 24 years.
So what else happened? The George Washington Bridge. Now, he's got 3 or 4 people. They're with him every day. A lot of you people, you have companies, you have friends, and you're with the friends every day, right? And you have breakfast. He would have lunch or breakfast with them all the time, and dinner, with this little group of, his cabinet. Now, the George Washington Bridge is the largest in the United States, and it's the most traveled on bridge, I believe, in the United States, right? They want it as retribution for the mayor of Fort Lee, New Jersey. They want to close it. I don't know why, because nobody's going to think about the mayor of Fort Lee. Nobody even knows it's in Fort Lee. They're going to think about the governor of New Jersey. He's doing a bad job. But they closed the bridge. Now, just put yourself in a common sense mode. You are with your cabinet. You're with them all the time. They're closing the biggest bridge in the United States, most traveled on bridge, one of them in the world, and most traveled on in the United States. You're doing that, and you're not telling the governor. And you're with him all the time. You're not saying, Governor, by the way, sir, we're closing the George Washington Bridge tonight.
The bridge itself was never closed, but Donald Trump implies it was. Only 2 of 3 on-ramps for local access from the small town of Fort Lee were closed. The only backups or delays were in Fort Lee. This info is from Reuters, CBS, and several others, or Google Bridgegate. So maybe Christie's staff didn't mention it to him after all.
Paris and France have the toughest gun laws in the world, they say. Nobody has guns except the bad guys, okay? So they walk in with AK-47s, they walk in with all this stuff, and, they have it, they bring it in. It's not so hard to get it in if you don't mind breaking the law. They were the only ones with any weapons, and they had big weapons, powerful weapons. 130 people dead, many more are going to die. You have people that are hanging by a thread in hospital.
As of the date of this speech, 12/28, only 6 of the wounded remain hospitalized, and they are expected to recover. So no one is hanging by a thread.
And then I go into Paris. I said, okay, let's assume that we're in Paris and they're shooting us and everybody's standing there like, oh, please. And they're saying, you over here, boom. You over, this is what was happening. Come over here, boom, 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 boom. Nobody could do anything.
There are no accounts of people being shot execution style during the 11/13 attack in Paris. It was painfully obvious you didn't know what the triad was in the last debate. Better ask to borrow Rick Perry's smart guy glasses.